Figure it out.
Hello, this is Adam Korlick with Figure It Out Productions. The following video is part of our Quick Shoot series.
Hey guys, so here's a strange pickup. You guys might remember not too long ago, I made a video of the Turbo EverDrive, right here, this thing, which, again, you can go pick up. If you haven't seen that video, go check that out. You can pick that up at retrotowers.co.uk. Great store. But you guys might remember I did that video about the Turbo EverDrive for the TurboGrafx 16, and I said that it's kind of cool, but because I don't have any TurboGrafx 16 games really, I just have a couple of sports ones, and you never really see TurboGrafx 16 stuff ever. And then by some strange twist of fate, I walked into a store not too long after that, and I saw this. This is a bagged TurboGrafx 16 with 10 games. What appears to have 2 controllers, and I believe the Turbo Tap, which is a 4 controller port tap, and power supply. And as you can see, I have not opened it. It was packaged this way, and it was $30, but it was on sale. Everything in the store had a sale. It ended up costing me $24, which was amazing. I couldn't even believe that, especially when I saw the games that were inside. So without further ado, I'm just going to cut this open, and we're going to take a look at it. I know I usually save this kind of stuff for playload, but I mean, like, what an awesome deal. So I'll just take the games out first, and then take out the controllers and everything. And of course, finally, the system. Move this out of the way. Okay, first let's just take a quick look at these games, because I'm excited to take a look at them. Got Bonk's Adventure. So this is what TurboGrafx 16 cases look like. They're like CD cases, but inside, wow, they have the booklet, and they've got the little flap and everything. All right, so that's the game kit, card, and it's got like a little individual case for it. Man, whoever had this, I mean, just based on this game alone, it looks like whoever owned this before me really took good care of it. And then we have one called Bloody Wolf. Its case is not as in good shape, so maybe I take that back, but they did keep the little plastic piece there, though. I mean, if one piece has to go, that's the easiest thing possible to replace. I can just grab any generic CD case and just replace that part. That's no problem. Probably will do that. And World Class Baseball, which is kind of like whatever, but yeah, that one doesn't have a little case. And good for you, guy, whoever had this before. You knew if you had to run out of those pieces, screw over the sports titles. Keith Courage and Alpha Zones, which I believe, it's supposed to be really good, but it's also supposed to be like the most common game on the system. I think it was the Pac-In game originally. I don't know a whole lot about the TurboGrafx. Or the TurboGrafx 16. I'm just starting to get into it a little, so if you got info, let me know. Dungeon Explorer, also kept in good shape, although this guy wrote all over the damn manual. Looks like passcodes. Maybe you didn't love the system that much, dude. I'm trying to learn about you, but apparently I can't figure you out. You seem to take good care of things, and then you write all over the booklet when you seem to not understand perfectly good paper does exist. You didn't have to ruin the manual. Anyway, next up, Taking It to the Hoop, which he kept in good shape. Maybe he liked basketball. I'm behind that. Go Bulls. Go Chicago Bulls. I'm a big basketball fan. Well, hang on a second. You guys saw it, but I'm going to move it down. What force is keeping these two things together? I don't know. We'll try to figure that out in a minute. Final Lap Twin, which I actually already own, which is rare. I don't own too many titles, but I do have this one already. But this one's complete, so that's obviously superior. R-Type with a little car. Why does it have? What is this? This guy is a true mystery to me. He has R-Type for the TurboGrafx 16, and for some reason in the front keeps a Hall of Fame U.S. Olympics cards of Eric Heiden, a apparent speed skater, class of 1983. Oh, birthplace Madison, Wisconsin. I do a lot of my Game Society Pimp stuff up there. Go check out that channel. We got a lot of funny videos. Wow. Well, that's my review of this card. And then we've got... Okay, there we go. Apparently there was just some sticky stuff on there. I don't know what that was all about. We got Victory Run. Look inside. Sort of complete. Giant hair in there. That's always disgusting. Dude, don't put your hair in your games. And yeah, that's cool. And then this is what caught my eye the most. Splatterhouse. It's got Splatterhouse. Complete, apparently. When I saw this bag, I was blown away that they had a TurboGrafx 16. I was like, wow, you never see that. Especially since I had just made the review of the EverDrive for it. And then when I looked inside and I saw Splatterhouse, I was like, how much does all this wonderment cost? $30 is what they wanted, and everything in the store was on sale. This whole thing cost me $24. That's amazing. But it also, let's see what else it comes with. It's got the power supply. That's, of course, good. It's got the RF unit, which is, that is one thing I will never forgive the TurboGrafx 16 for. It uses RF only, unless you have the really expensive AV booster, which that would have been amazing if this thing came with that. That thing's like $100 on its own. And then it came with 2 controllers right there, in case you've never seen a TurboGrafx controller. That's what it looks like. And it came with the Turbo Pad, which I have one of these. I think everybody who has a TurboGrafx 16 must have one of these, because that was the only way to get multiplayer. There's only one controller port on the TurboGrafx 16 right there. So if you wanted to play multiplayer, you had to have that. So let's get some of this stuff out of the way, and I'm gonna disconnect the power cable. So in order to do that, I have to get the back off, and then just, ooh, dusty. So actually, this thing is pretty gross. It's pretty dirty, and I think it needs a good cleaning, don't you guys? And well, you probably saw the title of the video. For the first 6.5 minutes, you were like, what the hell? Where's the title of the video coming in? It's coming in right now. We're going to do a full cleaning and restoring of this TurboGrafx 16 and try to make it look as good as my other TurboGrafx 16, or as good as it can anyway. We'll try to make it nice and shiny and operational. And yeah, so the first step, just by looking at it, well, is obviously we got to take off this thing again. Take that off. To all 6 of you that have a TurboGrafx out there. Now this is just plastic, although you do have a sticker back here. You could probably wash the whole thing with just water. That's what I'm going to do, although I think this, yeah, this is going to come right off, but that's no big deal because it's nice and clean under there, and it looks like that's not a sticker, that's just plastic, so that's good. So I'm going to clean that up with soap and water. But then back here, take a look at the system. I've never taken apart a TurboGrafx 16, so bear with me a little. It looks like it uses game bits, which are kind of a pain in the ass. Game bits are a specialty screw bit head that Nintendo uses a lot. They use them in the Super Nintendo, the NES top loader, the N64, the GameCube. Sega used them on the Game Gear, at least at one port. And apparently NEC used them on the TurboGrafx 16. There's 2 bits that I know of for the game bit, and this is apparently the bigger one. So what you're going to want to do is take your game bit, which you'll have to give me a second. I have to get it out of my where are you? Sorry, I got a junk drawer here. There's the screwdriver, but where are the bits? Here's one of them, and I think this is the right one. So you take your little bit head here, and then you put it into the screwdriver, the magnetic screwdriver, and then we go in and we have to remove all 6 screws. So assuming you have a TurboGrafx 16, go ahead and do that right now. Okay, so once you have all the screws out, you just kind of lift up the lid, and then the bottom will come off. Now, as you can see looking up close, at least I hope you can see it, there's a lot of dust on there. So I'm hoping, well, in fact, I'm sure of it. I'm sure I can get all that out. And looking on the inside, it's not too bad. There's a lot of dust down there, you can see that. And this is nothing but plastic, so this will wash up really nice. So just like with the end piece, this part, I'm just going to take it and run it under soap and water, or run it under water and use some soap and just clean that up, and that'll be nice and easy. And I'll do that in a minute. First, let's get on to the next part, though. We got to get the board out of here. So, looking at it, there's 2 screws back here. Those use a standard Phillips screwdriver, so just go ahead and remove those. And there's also 3 screws on the board. There's one right here. I don't know how well that's going to show up in the light. I apologize. You can see it there, right there, and then one down here. So go ahead and remove those, and be aware that they're to keep them separated. The 2 that come out of here have to go back into there. The 2 that come out of here have to go back into there. The one that comes out of here has to go back into here. Okay, so I've gone ahead and removed the screws. Remember to keep them separated from each other. You don't want to mix them because that would be bad. So then all we can basically do is just kind of lift up the motherboard, and the bottom piece should just come out because there's no more resistance. At least there shouldn't be. The only other resistance you might get is from the power connection. It's attached to the plastic there, so just kind of gently, don't just yank it, just kind of lift that up with the board and let it kind of pop out. And then once it does that, this will come up and out. And let's move that away for a second. This is the power switch, or like, well, it's not the actual switch, it's just the plastic that covers it. Since it's nothing but plastic, you can go ahead and wash that up too. And when we look at the inside here, a little dirty, a little dusty. It's not that bad, honestly, but you know, what the hell, I'll clean it up. It's more so the outside that really needs it, but it doesn't hurt to clean the inside. Okay, so I've gone ahead and rinsed off all the plastic, and as you can see, it looks a lot better. It's wet, obviously. It's drying currently. You might remember the labels had little stickers on them. I peeled those off. I felt like those weren't necessary. They were just making it look bad. I realized they're protective stickers, but I think you were supposed to remove them originally, and the previous owner, who continues to baffle me based on what I know about his TurboGrafx 16, he clearly left them on to protect them, but they were making it look really bad, so I got rid of them. They're safe in my hands, they're not going to get scratched up, and they look a lot better. So that's how I did that. Yeah, so the rest of the plastic looks pretty good, and I'm now going to put it off to the side and let it dry, because obviously you don't want to mix wet plastic with the electronics. I even cleaned up the button, or switch, whatever. So now let's bring in the actual board here. So we're going to try and clean this up as best we can. Now, it's got this RF shielding all over it, which is not coming off because it's soldered directly to the board, and I'm certainly not in any, I certainly have no need to get at the board, so I'm not going to bother with that. So there's only like a few things we can do here. First, I'm going to take compressed air and just kind of blow around inside where I can. Okay, this can's empty. Just grab a different can here. Sorry about that. And just spray in there. Not that dusty, which is a good sign. You want to clean inside these little ports too, and clear up anything in there if you can. And basically just go around and spray compressed air everywhere and get as much dust out of there as you can. But fortunately, this one doesn't seem to be too dusty, so I guess that's not that big of a deal. You could also, if you want, you could take Q-tips and just kind of go on the board and just, you know, dry, of course, don't put any moisture on this, and just kind of go around and try to get excess dust off if you find any, or if it's lucky enough to pick any up, but don't poke around too hard. But again, it's not really picking up much there, so I guess there just isn't that much dust on here, which is pretty cool. So the only other thing I can really recommend doing, because, yeah, I don't know, I don't really have much other advice. Oh wait, no, there is a bunch of dust underneath here by the cartridge slot, and I guess that makes sense. So what I'm going to do is take a Q-tip, like I am right now, as you can see, and just kind of go in there, dry again, and then, you know, do that, and then come out, and, well, you can see there was a lot of dust in there. So that's good that I got that out. Clean up that some more. Yeah, more dust comes out. Good. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean the contacts in there. Now, this is a little bit more difficult than usual because, well, obviously the TurboGrafx is a card-based system. It's not cartridge in the traditional sense, so the usual methods don't quite work. I have a solution to this, but the average person will have a harder time emulating what I'm about to do. Traditionally, I tell you to use a cartridge cleaning kit if you can. And if you can't, I always say, oh, use the credit card method, which is where you take a credit card, wrap it in felt cloth, and then spray some Windex on that what you just made, and then clean contacts. Unfortunately, you won't be able to do that. You will actually require a cartridge cleaning kit. There's a little piece inside, looks exactly like this. Clearly never used, so previous owner of this cartridge cleaning kit clearly did not have a TurboGrafx 16. And this piece is specifically designed to go right into that board. And just go in like that, back and forth, into the contacts and out. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to spray Windex on this, and then just go in a few times and clean the contact points. And I don't know how to help you if you don't have one of these. You'd probably have to make some other way of doing this. It's maybe you still could use the credit card method, actually. You just have to insert it kind of like the way the games go in. You'd have to go in the opposite direction. You could try that. That might work. But yeah, basically all you do is just spray Windex on it, and then just go in, insert a few times, and pull it out, and just you'll see the dust on there. Alright, well I did it, and I got a little bit of dust out of there, but not a whole lot. But any amount of dust out of there is always good, because it increases the odds the system is going to work. So now we've done that, there isn't much else to do except to perhaps clean one of the games. And I'm going to clean Splatterhouse, I think. So we just go ahead and open that up. We'll take the game out of here. I mean, this is just my opinion, but I think that's a really strange case choice for cards. But, I mean, it was the early 90s, and I guess CDs were in, so people thought that would work. I don't know. It just seems very weird to me now. But, yeah, what we do is we take our beloved Splatterhouse here, and we're going to do very similar to what we do with normal cartridges. It's just going to be a slightly different method. We take our Windex. Also, this is Windex, okay, guys, get it? It's streak-free shine. It's Windex should really pay me for the amount of promotion I do for them. It's basically just an ammonia-based glass cleaner. In the UK, this is called Windowlean. I'm not really sure what it's called in other parts of the world, but hopefully you can find it. It's pretty common in the US and Canada. So anyway, spray a little bit on a Q-tip, just like that. And then we take our card, and all you have to do is just kind of rub along the contacts, just like this, back and forth. And that will get whatever little dust is on there off the card. And then you just go back and dry it on the other side. In my experience with the TurboGrafx 16, it doesn't really have too many problems reading games, unlike a lot of cartridge systems. Maybe that's just because of the way the media is. But yeah, it tends to work pretty well. It got some dust off. Maybe you can see that, maybe you can't. But this one was also in a case. So I'm going to go ahead and clean all the cartridges, of course, or cards, whatever you want to call them. And I highly recommend you do the same. And once I'm done with that, I'm just basically going to play the waiting game while the plastic dries. And then once it's dry, and 100% dry, I mean, you really have to wait. This takes a couple of hours. Once I've got all the plastic dry, then we'll move on to the next step. While the plastic is drying on the system, I figured I'd show you guys how to clean up one of the controllers and to actually look at a TurboGrafx controller if you've never seen one. There you go, that's what that's for. These are like weird booster pads, I guess. I don't know, I always find the games work better when they're down, but there must be some games that work better when they're up. But anyway, you got your select, your run, your D-pad. But yeah, enough about the controller. Let's clean it. In order to get into it, it's got 5 screw points, and you need like a small Phillips screwdriver. And you just go in and remove all 5 screws, and then we'll move on to the next step. Okay, so once your screws are out, what you're going to want to do is take the controller and flip it upside down, and then just take the back piece off, exposing the board. The back piece, like the case before it, the system case, is just plastic, so you can just go ahead and rinse this up with soap and water. But this side, we have to first undo this little cable here, lift it up like that, and take the board out. It should just pop out. There's a couple little plastic clips down there kind of holding it in place. Nothing that a little finagling or just gravity will take care of. So you just take it out, and there you can see the board there. Very basic looking board. Just put that to the side. You don't want to really mess with that unless the controller's not working. But anyway, then we'll get down to this part. And I think you should just flip it over. Just let all the buttons kind of fall out of place like that. And you'll get to the plastic piece here. And like I said with the other piece, you just go ahead and rinse this up with soap and water and get it nice and clean. And you got these little rubber feet pieces and this D-pad. You could clean all this. Nothing in here is, well, actually, no, you can clean all this with soap and water. Okay, so I've gone ahead and rinsed them all up, and they look pretty good. And now, just like the system case, I just have to let them sit and dry. Okay, the plastic is completely dry on this now, so it's time to put it back together. So we'll start with the little D-pad there, and put that back into place. And you'll notice every piece of plastic kind of only has one way it can go in, so it's it's pretty easy to put this back together. Put the button, I don't want to say A and B, but that's essentially what they are, is an A and B equivalent back into place. Then we'll put all the little rubber feety things back in. It doesn't matter what order you do them in, obviously. Well, I mean, obviously you have to put the plastic parts in first and then the rubber, but you know what I'm saying. And keep the sensor pads up, because they'll have to ultimately touch the board. And then we'll put in the little switches here. These have to face to the right, or well, to the left, I guess, depending on your angle of putting it in it. Let's put it that way. And put this one in as well. And that should be good for that. And now we take the board here, and this way will face down, because you can see the D-pad looking part. Put that down and just kind of fit it into place. And then you'll have to take this and wrap it around up here, like that. And that's pretty much it right there. You'll want to make sure the board kind of connects with these little holes there. There's little plastic pieces there that fit through, and that keeps it in place. And then you go ahead and take the back of the controller, like this, and just kind of click it back into place. And then you take your 5 screws and you put it back in. And let's pretend I did that. We would have our A or B, or well, 1 and 2, our little switches here, all working, start, select, D-pad, and it looks pretty good. It's not perfect, but it's not bad at all. So now it's time to put the system back together. So we're going to start with the lid here. It's a little odd how you put this system back together, but it's just how it was done. You take the lid, flip it upside down. Then take your plastic piece here, the little light, and then you kind of put this back into place just like this, so it can slide back and forth like that. And you'll know you're doing it right if there's a little chunk of plastic that pops out into the corner right there. This would, if the system was together, would prevent you from sticking in or removing a cartridge while the system is on. So that's what that's for. Then what you're going to want to do is grab your board like this and line it up with both the button down there and oh, yeah, there we go. Fit that into place, and then you're gonna fit everything else into place. And finally, you got to fit the little power jack into these, like basically the spacing for the plastic there, and kind of push that down. And if you've done it right, it'll look like that. It'll look normal. So fit everything into place like that. The switch would therefore work. Okay, and everything's in. Now it's time to put in some screws. Now you remember earlier I told you to separate the screws. You got two little silver ones, slightly longer ones than the others, that go into those 2 points right there. And then you have ones that are very similar in size but have like a little washer attached to them. They go in the back, right there and right there. And then finally you have this little, that's much smaller than all the others, one with a little washer on it, and that goes into the port right there, where my index finger is pointing. So yeah, they're all Phillips screwdrivers. Obviously you know, because you took them apart, presumably, if you're doing this, unless you're just watching me. Okay, so once you've got those screws in place, it's time to put the bottom on. And you just grab that and just basically line it into place. You really shouldn't have any problem with that. It slides on really easily. And then you'll take your, I believe it's 9 screws here. No, 7 screws, and place them to the appropriate ports, which is, well, all of them except this tiny little one, which doesn't appear to have any real purpose. But yeah, go ahead and put those in. Don't forget, obviously, that requires the game bit. So she's basically back together, except for the little expansion cover there, which I'm actually not going to do just yet. And the only reason I'm not going to do that is because, as good as she looks, I want to clean her up even more. I don't know why I'm suddenly assuming it's a female. But anyway, we're going to make it nicer and shinier, and in order to do that, we're going to take some Pledge. I got Orange Pledge here. This is just a standard type of Pledge. People have asked me if there's a specific type you should use. Like I said, I just use Orange Pledge. My only advice to you is don't use moisturizing Pledge. That stuff's much more difficult to get off. Just use standard Pledge, and if it's lemon or orange or whatever, that's entirely up to you. But basically, all this is going to do is just give this a nice shiny coat and make it look like it's pretty much brand new again. So in order to do this, I just take a paper towel, just spray some on the paper towel like this, and then rub right around on the system. and that'll make it nice and shiny again. It'll also get off possibly any extra dust or dirt that you might have missed in the initial washing, which is good. And I'm going to go over the entire system like this, and including the expansion port, sides, bottom, etc. And then I'm going to let it dry, which you should let it dry, you know, maybe like a half hour with Pledge, and then we'll see what she looks like. Alright, and it's had time to dry, and I think it looks pretty shiny. I think it looks pretty good. And TurboGrafx 16, nice, underrated system. Not the most attractive system, honestly, in my opinion, but doesn't make it not good. Though I really wish it didn't only have RF on it. That's kind of a pain in the ass. But yeah, let's see if it works. Because as per usual, when I do these pickups, I never test these things first, and as you saw, it was in a plastic bag at the beginning of the video, so yeah, no idea. So let's hook it up, and let's find out. I'm going to use Splatterhouse for this, because, yeah, Splatterhouse, that's the definitive game as far as I'm concerned. Put it in, turn it on, and it works, which is awesome. Because it works, that's just one of the best pickups I've ever gotten, at least for the price. For $24, I got the system plus 10 games. And to give you an idea of how good of a deal that is, Splatterhouse usually sells for $30. Frankly, I'm not surprised that it worked, of course. You know, if it was going to come with 10 games and be in that good a shape, it was nothing wrong with it. And of course, cartridge systems are not that hard to repair. Generally, if they're usually just dirty, 98% of the time, that's all the problem is. So that's good to know. I also want to try out the EverDrive on this one. You guys might remember I made a video entirely about this. I got this from retrotowers.co.uk. It's a website in the UK that sells video game things, including this. And yeah, I did an entire video about this thing. It's just a flash cart for the TurboGrafx, and I just want to make sure it, you know, I have no reason to think it wouldn't work on here, and of course it does. But I wanted to show you how quickly the load times are compared to an actual game. Now, of course, you just get this menu, but if you just press, you know, start, select, it just loads the most previous game, which I already had preset up on my other TurboGrafx 16 as Splatterhouse. So you can see it's immediate and instantaneous. So yeah, just a reminder to say, you know, go check out the video that I did about this if you want more information. It's a flash card. It has every game ever made for this system on it, and it's pretty cool. And like I said, you can pick these up at retrotowers.co.uk. And as I said in that video, and I'll say it again, you get some exclusivity by being one of my fans. You can go on their website, retrotowers.co.uk, and you can use the coupon code ADAMK, which I'll put right here, which is my name, obviously, Adam. You can use that as a coupon code and get 5% off your purchase. Not just for this, but for anything on that website. Just for being one of my fans, you get that. So thank you guys. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you learned how to clean one of these up. And again, go check that out and use that coupon code, guys. So thanks for watching, everybody.